From the National Newsroom of the Canadian Press, I'm Don Mitchell. Liberal House Leader Stephen McKinnon is defending the government's move to take greater control over the agenda in Parliament. McKinnon says he plans to move a motion in the coming days to change the rules that govern the House of Commons so that the Liberals get the most votes on committees.
We have an ambitious agenda to build Canada strong. And from the start, we've made it very clear we want to work collaboratively with other parties in the House. We do not want to play silly partisan games that wastes the time and the money of taxpayers in this place.
The Conservatives called the move a cynical power grab and that it will make it easier for the government to avoid scrutiny. Meanwhile, Prime Minister Mark Carney insists the United States won't dictate the terms of negotiations on the continental trade deal, but it will take time to reach an agreement.
Carney was responding to a Radio Canada report citing officials who said Americans are imposing an entry fee on trade talks with Canada and are demanding concessions before negotiations begin. Canada's chief trade negotiator with the U.S. said Tuesday the country already has made significant concessions, like dropping the digital services tax, issuing millions of dollars in refunds to tech companies, and ending retaliatory tariffs. A recent report from the Office of the United States Trade Representative cites some provinces not stocking U.S. alcohol and high tariffs on some American dairy products as trade irritants with Canada. Lisa Laporte, the Canadian Press.
Over to the Middle East, U.S. President Donald Trump believes the current Iranian regime is fractured and says a ceasefire will remain in place indefinitely until Iran comes up with a proposal to end the war. Pakistan had planned to host a second round of talks, but the White House suspended Vice President J.D. Vance's planned trip to Islamabad as Iran rebuffed efforts to restart negotiations. Meanwhile, there isn't an indication that oil prices and, by extension, gas prices will fall anytime soon. The Strait of Hormuz is still blocked, and according to the head of the Defense Intelligence Agency, Iran still has thousands of missiles and drones. ABC's Elizabeth Schultz says the blockades in the strait have led to massive stockpiles of oil around the world, and Gulf nations are seeing the negative economic impacts.
A lot of those Gulf countries' economies are getting hit right now, and we did also hear Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent say that they have even asked the U.S. for basically financial lifelines because of the hit from this oil price.
Iran did fire on 3 ships in the Strait of Hormuz today and seized 2 of them. The White House says those seizures don't violate the ceasefire terms, but the latest salvos do complicate efforts to bring the U.S. and Iran together for talks. And officials in part of Quebec are expressing cautious optimism as river levels appear to be stabilizing, even as the number of flooded homes continues to rise. The city of Gatineau says the water levels rose less than expected yesterday, suggesting the surrounding rivers are stabilizing and nearing their peak. The city says around 190 buildings are potentially flooded, while another 300 are isolated due to road closures. This is the Canadian Press. In sports and the NHL playoffs, Connor McDavid says he needs to be sharper as the Edmonton Oilers take a 1-0 lead into tonight's Game 2 of their best-of-7 first-round series with the Anaheim Ducks. The Oilers' top-ranked power play went quiet in Game 1 with McDavid held off the score sheet. Edmonton edged the Ducks 4-3 on Monday. Elsewhere tonight, Philadelphia hosts Pittsburgh. The Flyers are up 2-0 in that series, and Dallas visits Minnesota with that series tied at 1 game apiece. In the NBA, the Toronto Raptors look to apply some lessons learned when they host game number 3 tomorrow at Scotiabank Arena. They're trailing 0-2 in their best-of-7 first-round series with Cleveland. Head coach Darko Rakovic says his young team needs to clean up turnovers. And with the World Cup less than 2 months away, Mexico is boosting security after a shooting at the Teotihuacan Pyramids killed a Canadian and injured a dozen others. President Claudia Sheinbaum called the attack isolated, but is increasing National Guard presence and surveillance in tourist areas. From the Canadian Press, I'm Don Mitchell.
Thanks for listening. Don't forget to follow and subscribe. For more of today's top stories, visit thecanadianpressnews.ca.